Who's got the best drinking ability? Is it the Irish or the Australians, mate?
Oh, I'd have to say the Irish.
Oh, you've just lost a whole bunch of listeners, mate.
Oh, well, we can. I'm up for a competition. I'll be there.
Welcome to the Tradies Business Show with Warwick Bidwell. Talking business ownership, the nuts and bolts, and everything in between.
G'day and welcome to another episode of the Tradies Business Show. Great to have you listening. Thanks for your ear holes. And the next 45 minutes or so is a very cool interview with a lad from Ireland. He's still sporting a fairly decent accent, and I don't know, he's a bit deluded. He seems to think the Irish are better at our national sport here in Australia. But jokes aside, this is a great chat about a tradie, a chippy, who has started a digital business. And better than that, he started a digital business or an online business to help tradies. So pretty cool product that Keith and his partners have put together. It's called Conx Jobs, C-O-N-X Jobs. You might have seen them on social media a bit. And love what these guys are doing, and really enjoyed my chat with Keith. Very inspiring story. Very interesting story, actually. And you should definitely check it out. So stick around to the end. We'll give you some more details on where to find them and how it all works. But definitely exciting stuff for the industry. And as Keith said in here, the construction industries in Australia are booming on the whole. So fantastic opportunities for tradies here in this country, and maybe in Ireland as well, I don't know. Anyway, strap yourself in, have a listen, and I'll see you at the other end. So joining me on the Tradies Business Show today is a man who I can understand. Apparently not everybody can do that. But I'm chatting with Mr. Keith Moore from Conx Jobs. Keith, welcome to the show, mate.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's a huge pleasure to be here. And I have to say, I listen to podcasts every morning, kind of on my cycle in. I have about a 40-minute cycle in and out of the office, which is new to me because I obviously used to be a carpenter. But since I've been invited on here, I've been listening to lots of the shows. And this morning I was listening to the one, was it Amelia from...
Oh, yeah, Undercover Architect.
The Undercover Architect. And I thought she was absolutely brilliant. But what really got me was when she was telling me about living in the Byron hinterland. How much I loved it. I got to live up there for about 6 months in 2011, and it just got me all nostalgic and got me wondering, what am I doing cycling through Sydney traffic?
Now, you said cycling through Sydney traffic. Were you riding a push bike?
Riding a push bike, yeah. So we've had our first child about 7 weeks ago. So
oh wow,
there isn't enough hours in the day to run a business, look after a child, and exercise. So I figured that a 40-minute cycle in and out is actually quicker than the bus. And as well as that, it means that you don't have to spend 40 minutes or an hour doing exercise when you get home. So you get to spend it with your family. So it kind of kills two birds with the one stone, and it gets the blood flowing when you get into an office. I'm not 100% used to being an office worker. So for me, it's good to have that stimulation and kind of get the blood flowing before I get into work.
Awesome, mate. So you must be a fairly brave man, Keith, to cycle in Sydney traffic, mate.
Oh, I tell you, there is some hairy moments. You kind of have to have your wits about you, and it does make you very aware. You have to be concentrating 100% of the time.
It'd get you nice and sharp for a day in the office, mate. Everything else would seem pretty easy compared to that.
Exactly. When you've had a near-death experience on the way to office, you feel thankful for the day.
Nice, mate. You wouldn't take any crap at work anyway.
No.
So, Keith, clearly the listeners can pick up a bit of an accent. You're from New Zealand, yeah?
Yeah, don't wind me up. Don't wind me up. I thought you were going to say England.
I wouldn't do that to you, mate. I know how I've got some friends from Ireland, and I know never to confuse the two, mate. So you are from the Emerald Isle.
I am from the Emerald Isle. I'm from Dublin City, so I'm a city boy. So we kind of grew up pretty close to maybe 10 minutes outside Dublin city centre.
Yeah, nice, mate. And how long since you left the motherland?
Yeah, I suppose that kind of leads me into the story of how I got here and how I am.
Let's have
where
it, mate.
I am today. Yeah, in about 2009, it was January 2009. Actually, we were waiting on my wife to finish her master's in finance, and we kind of always said that we'd go off traveling and do a bit of a world tour. So off we went to South America for maybe 4 months, and we went and did a ski season in New Zealand in Queenstown, and got to Australia in September 2009 with the aim of staying here for the 1 year working holiday visa that everyone does. And the two of us actually just fell in love with the place. We made some really good Australian friends, and with the GFC going on back home, we didn't leave because of it, but it's probably a big part of the reason we didn't rush back. But we had lots of Irish friends here as well, so we had a good community base, and yeah, so we really set about staying here, which was awesome. I had carpentry as a skill, so it kind of led me into the first problem to like how we got the concept of Conx rolling in our head. Because although I had the skills as a carpenter, I found it really hard to get carpentry work, even though that there was so much work going on here. But I had to go to like shake hands with people. Like friends were telling me, hey, you should go up to the pub and just talk to people with high-vis vests to see if you can kind of get a job. And there was other people kind of saying Gumtree was an option. Yeah, which was like, geez, you could buy a fridge or do whatever you want on there, and there's me looking for a carpentry job. Yeah, but that kind of got us thinking anyway. So I started out just working as a labourer, and eventually kind of got a role as a carpenter. Another friend of mine came out, and the two of us started working together. And yeah, we had our own kind of little thing going. So the two of us, we were picking up bits and pieces of carpentry work. But like anything, it was really word of mouth. You worked for one guy, and he might give you a recommendation. And it was a real struggle to kind of find a way to grow yourself, and just to find more work back in 2009, 10, 11, there was no real central place for construction. But after that, though, we struggled actually to get permanent residency. So we did, as I mentioned at the start there, that we went up to Byron Bay, and we did farm work to get an extra year extension on our visa in the hinterland of Byron, which was absolutely amazing. We did maybe 3 months, I think, out there in a place called Wine, which is in between like Byron and Lismore, which is just, if anyone knows all the hippies up there, it was definitely an eye-opening experience.
Did you get some dreadlocks, mate, while you're up there?
I didn't get dreadlocks, but I definitely had a very long flowing locks of hair. And when I went back to Ireland that Christmas, because we actually got engaged up there, myself and my now wife, so we went back to Christmas that year in 2011, and I got a lot of slagging from all my friends for my long flowing locks. But if they could have seen where I was living, they would have understood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not the most important thing to cut your hair when you're up there, mate.
No, there's other priorities.
Yeah.
But it was from I could have lived my life in Byron. I have to say, I loved it so much. But my wife, she's obviously been in finance and corporate banking. She was just, I came home one day. I had this job where I used to cycle along the tea tree lakes out to the job. I was a carpenter up there with a company, and I came home one Monday evening, and my wife was crying. She's like, "I want to go back to the city." So, so that's what we did. We headed back to Sydney, and in 2012 we shipped off back to Ireland because we had to be out of the country to get our permanent residency. So we got married in Portugal. we headed down to the Caribbean, a little island in the Caribbean. I got a 4-month project management kind of carpentry role down there. We built a 3,000 square meter deck and a load of cabanas. It was living the ideal life, but it was when we were over there that we kind of got our heads thinking about a solution to the problem, which was the connection point in the construction industry. So when we did eventually get back to Australia after maybe 6 months gone in 2013, I was pretty clear in the fact that I wanted to start a carpentry company. So I had a really good friend here, John. He's my friend from Ireland. So we got together and started a carpentry company called Ocean Carpentry. And I went on and did my builder's license. I thought, that's the kind of natural progression for a carpenter here, is to become a kind of residential builder. So I got that builder's license, and from working with lots of residential builders around Sydney and stuff, we kind of, the two of us put our heads together and we're like, is this the kind of hardship that we want to take on? The constant battling with homeowners to get that last payment and this and that. So we spoke to a few other builders that we know, and they kind of nearly talked us out of it. So what we decided to do was just focus on carpentry, because it gave us a lot more control, and just to focus on what we were good at, and just to kind of try and grow the business from there. But what that did was just throw up a whole other bunch of problems, because when you just focus on one trade, you're never in a job more than, I'm going to say, 2 weeks to a month, depending on the size of the job. If you're framing a house or if you're doing whatever, it might only take you 3 weeks or a month. So we were constantly battling to get new contacts in the construction industry, and like getting builders to give us a chance. And we always found that once we kind of did get in with builders, it was fine. It was that, like, once you'd met them and once they'd seen your work, and once they kind of ticked a few boxes, that it was easy. So from there, I was looking for solutions to problems, and my head was constantly thinking, on one hand, you've got the problem of individuals being able to find work, or companies being able to find individuals, which we experienced even with our company Ocean Carpentry, that when we were looking to hire guys, it was really hard. It's literally a handshake and a week's trial, and it's not really a great way to operate in this day and age. No. So we kind of, what we thought was, a platform where individuals could put their best foot forward. They could create a profile about themselves, some pictures of their work. They'd be able to upload all their licenses, which Conx verifies. And as well as that, you're able to rate each other, much like Uber or Airbnb has done these days. So if I work as an individual, if I was to work for a carpentry company here or a carpentry company there, or they can give me ratings based on, the skill of my work, my attendance rate, all these kind of things. So it's just about giving guys a platform to put their best foot forward, which isn't really there in the construction industry at the moment. In the white collar industry, you've got platforms like LinkedIn, where everybody has a profile and everybody knows exactly where everybody worked and what everybody did. And it is really time that the construction industry became a little bit more professional, and the tradies don't see themselves as, a little bit lower. They can be proud of all the work they've done and the licenses they have and the experience they have, and use that to their advantage to get going.
Yeah.
But the other kind of problem we saw with Ocean Carpentry was, the connection point between businesses to businesses, because as Ocean Carpentry, we didn't want to be working for homeowners. We decided to really just focus on, working for builders and maybe getting some commercial carpentry contracts. But this wasn't the opportunity for us to see tenders that were out there in the market, and for us to say, look, this is something, there's a job in my area that I'd love to do, or, if there was a platform where I could send a message to 10 builders in my area and say, hey, I'm Keith. I've got a company called Ocean Carpentry. I've got 6 guys working for me. We've got experience in this, this, and this. It'd be really great if you gave me the opportunity to quote on some work you've got coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of that was the basis for us building Connect. And my wife really kind of bought into it and could see the big opportunity. So she took the bull by the horns in 2014 and joined a co-working space in Sydney called Fish Burners, which is just it's a hub for startups where you can get together. There's companies in here that do everything from artificial intelligence to machine learning to virtual reality to fintech. There's a couple of other construction ones in here, but the Fish Burners really gave us the platform to explore the opportunity and to learn what it is to build a website. You know, I didn't have any experience in that, and neither did my wife. But in here, she kind of met a technical guy, and he became a co-founder. So there's now 3 of us in the business. And
right.
Yeah,
cool, mate. So Keith, just to, I guess, you know, in a nutshell, what is the problem that you guys solve? You know, you've talked about Ocean Carpentry and some of the hassles that you guys had finding labour, finding good subbies, and it's something that I hear tradies complain about pretty much all the time, and business owners too. But, you know, obviously we're talking about that trade space is you can't get good people, you can't get good staff. So, mate, what is the problem you solve?
Well, the biggest problem we solve and everything that we work towards is the connection point between whoever it may be within the industry. As I said there, where the Connect platform is business to business only. So it has individual trades, it has subcontractors, and it has general contractors. So what we want to do is just connect these people directly for whatever it is they may be. If it's a general contractor looking for roofing company, he can send them that tender and they can just make that connection and off they go.
Yep.
So we provide a really simple platform for general contractors to put tenders together and to send them out and to manage that whole pre-construction and tendering process. So we can, we designed it so simple to use for construction workers because that's what it needed to be. It just needed to be really easy to use. It needed to be easier to use than email, so we can manage correspondence, simple messaging system between the parties, just makes us a really valuable service. And another aspect of it is giving, as I say, giving the individuals a voice and giving them the opportunity to apply for jobs. So if you need to hire an electrician in wherever, you can put up the job specs up there, exactly what you need. And then if I was an electrician, I can see that job, I can apply for it, have a chat with you, you can look at my profile. So it kind of takes that, you know, that handshake and, hey, I'll give you a week's trial out of it.
Yeah.
So it's like a connection point before you even make a phone call or make an interview or set up an interview. You know, if I get 10 applicants for a job, I can see quite simply that, hey, this guy has experience only in commercial electrics. I'm looking for residential electrics. He might not be the guy for me. Okay, so we narrowed it down to 2 people. You know, so
it's kind of like Tinder for tradies.
I suppose it's kind of like Tinder for tradies. I haven't heard that analogy before, but yeah.
You can use that in your marketing if you like, Keith.
I think I might. What you want, royalties?
You just need to get the whole swipe left, swipe right thing going on.
Swipe right, swipe left.
Some of the tradies might need to put up different photos. I've
actually missed the whole Tinder area. I understand the swipe left and swipe right, but I don't know too much about Tinder.
Mate, I've never actually been on Tinder. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You know, if you met your significant other on Tinder, anybody out there listening, then that's quite okay. We're not going to judge you. But I guess, you know, jokes aside, mate, it is that ability to screen people without the lucky dip. approach that you were talking
Yeah,
about.
that's exactly it. Yeah, it's just the ability to screen people and just get a bit of an overview of them, I suppose, before you kind of make contact.
So, Keith, talk to me a bit about, you've gone from being a chippy, essentially, or a carpenter, to running an online business. Mate, what was the transition like?
I suppose it was, yeah, it was nerve-wracking, I have to say. It was absolute nerve-wracking. While I was kind of keeping within the same industry, they couldn't be more polar opposites, I suppose, because getting to understand a technology business, I was always a very hands-on carpenter, and I had all the pet hates that everybody hated. I used to hate quoting. I used to hate doing the invoicing. I used to much prefer just being out there doing the work. So, yeah, for me, it was a huge learning curve, and it was really scary as well as the fear of failure is an obvious one. Like, I knew how to be a carpenter. I knew how to run a carpentry company, and to take the jump and to say to, like, my really good friend and business partner of Ocean Carpentry, do you know what? Hey, we've had this idea, and like he obviously knew it had been going for a while. We had it built, and we'd done all the hard work getting it ready. But for me to say to him, I'm going to take the plunge and go full time in this, it happened kind of late 2016. We got selected by Google for entrepreneurs to go to San Francisco, to Silicon Valley, to pitch our business at Google Demo Day as one of the most promising startups in Australia. So after that, my eyes were really open to the size of the opportunities. So when we got back from that in late 2016, we had a long chat, and while it was a big risk, because we weren't earning any money from Conx at that time, so it was still getting it off the ground. So we kind of put aside money and said, look, myself and my wife said, we have about 6 or 8 months here. We'll put this money into it. We'll keep ourselves living. We give it all we got. What we'll try and do that time is get it off the ground and raise some funds. And if we can, we can. And if we can't, we'll never die wondering. Yeah. So for me to say, turn my back on a business that I built up, I suppose it was really hard. And the big contrast between working in a technology business, that I'm sure you'll know as well, as for me and my mindset, being a carpenter growing up, I get to work on a Monday morning. I've got a house to build. There's like 2 bales of timber on the ground. At the end of the day or at the end of the week, I can see what I've done. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I can see what I've done. I can look back and say, wow, that was a good week. Where, so many days and so many weeks when you're kind of building a technology business, you can kind of look back, and while you've got your computer in front of you, you can kind of look and see, like, sometimes think, what did I actually do this week? And did it have any progress to us moving forward with the business? So there's always so many unknowns with it, whereas the construction business is black and white. You either built it or you didn't build it.
Yeah,
it's either standing or it's not. So
how did you deal with that, Keith?
How did I deal with that? I suppose I had a lot of, I definitely had. We kind of joke in here in Fishburners, and definitely amongst the Conx team, that the startup life is a roller coaster. You kind of have your ups and your downs, and one day you're talking to somebody about signing an amazing deal, and the next day your website crashes and you're right down at the bottom. So I think it's really around the people you have around you. If you can get support from other people that have built websites and built technology businesses before, they can kind of spur you on to keep growing, and we've obviously got a bit of a team here in Conx, so just obviously working with them and everyone keeping us going, and having a 7-week-old baby now as well, isn't there? That's really motivation to kind of keep going.
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
Yeah, I do think that as well. I've always thought in life that, fear and excitement, there's a fine line between them, and sometimes they overlap and sometimes they're together. So if you can use your fear as excitement and look at the opportunity and use that just to keep on going, I think it's really important.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. So you mentioned, kids and family and those sorts of things. I mean, what have been some of the other driving forces behind, starting and growing Conx?
I suppose the big driving force was wanting to make a change and be part of something bigger. I got some great advice years ago, that the best businesses are always the ones that you don't have to put a dollar value on every minute. If the business can work without you, it's amazing. I'm sure you understand that in your line of business as well. And
yep.
While I'll never forget how to be a carpenter, well, obviously there'll be new products and changes and stuff like that. That kind of alleviated some of my fear that, I still had carpentry to kind of fall back on. So that's what drives me on, just making a big change in the industry and being able to help other people with the problems that I faced. And, I think that a connected construction industry is a hell of a lot better than a fragmented one. If we can get everybody onto the one place, sharing their ideas, kind of interacting for work, just kind of opening up their network and just being more open about everything. I think it's really going to help us help the whole industry move forward. Look, the construction industry the productivity is actually down in construction in comparison to the 1970s, which is absolutely mind-blowing, so I think in terms of technology, construction is the second least digitized industry in the whole world, the first being agriculture. so there's a huge opportunity there for progress in the construction industry and just bringing people online, I suppose.
Yeah. It's kind of funny hearing you say that, mate, because, we're sitting here talking over Skype. I'm using some, sound recording equipment that's piped into my laptop, and this will all go up in the cloud to go out via iTunes. My family are all builders and farmers. They're pretty much the two least digitized industries in the world. So, I'm feeling...
That's a sign of the times then, if you can kind of come from that background and then become this kind of person who's involved in the whole technology industry and moving forward.
Yeah, and look, I love it, mate. And I guess for me, that's where there's some big opportunities for the trades. If I make it a bit broader than just construction, but there is so much opportunity for tradies that are willing to pick up some of this stuff. And you don't have to be a techo genius to really to revolutionize your business. I mean, there's some very cool apps for job management, and most people use something like Zero or Mile or whatever, some cloud-based bookkeeping software. I'm looking at to-do list apps at the moment. I just like testing things out, but when it comes to finding workers, and I come back to that problem that you solve, mate, it's like, we've seen services that connect consumers to trades, but I haven't ever come across anything that connects trades to trades, mate, like you guys are doing. So
exactly.
I mean, what's been the take-up rates and the feedback from industry? What's been the acceptance like?
Yeah, it's been really good. It's been really good. There's a company in the States who do something similar. They've been really heavily funded, and they are really going from strength to strength. I think they've raised like $50 million or something outrageous.
Wow.
But it kind of that just gives us the verification that look, this is a huge problem. Like the biggest barrier to any construction company's growth is winning work.
Yeah.
Like if you don't win work, you haven't got a company, you haven't got a platform to move forward. So that's essentially what we're providing. We're providing a platform for you to come on, and it's everything pre-construction. So before you get yourself on site, if you need to hire guys, if you need to send out your tenders, if you need to get takeoffs done, well, that's actually a new service that we're looking to do with another Australian company from up your neck of the woods. Actually, they're up in Brisbane.
Oh, yeah.
They offer a takeoff service. So what we'll be looking to do, we haven't fully implemented it yet, and we're still just in discussions of how exactly it'll work. But if, say, building companies send out a carpentry tender to a carpentry company, we can offer them the service where we will actually do the bill of quantities or the takeoff, and just so that'll save them so much time in their quoting, and give them the opportunity to just focus more on the running of their business, because it's every subcontractor's pet hate is just pricing, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if we can give you a list of here's everything that needs to be priced, just stick in your rates and send it back to the builder, it's going to make things a hell of a lot more efficient.
Yeah, yeah, yep. And yeah, that whole quoting on work, man, that chews some time.
Oh, it's the biggest time suck, the biggest time suck there is, you know, because most people, and I'm sure most of your listeners can relate, but they've got to run a company, and they've got to manage the guys on site, and they've got to be out there. I experienced it myself, and then your only time to quote is when you get home in the evening.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the last thing you need, especially if you've got a family. I've actually learned that only recently. You know, I used to say, oh, I close my computer at 5 or 6 o'clock, cycle home, and think, oh, I've got another hour's work to do at home. I get home now, and there is absolutely no hope of me getting an hour to take my computer out of my bag.
Yeah.
I get handed a baby, and that's
Shift change, mate.
shift change. Yeah. So I've now completely learned that any work I have to do has to be done in work or in the office. So it was just about giving, giving subbies and giving builders a bit of time back. But again, it's like anything, you need to invest a little bit of time and have your mindset being open to trying something new, to be able to move forward and be able to get some of that time back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. You'll understand. You've got to put in to get out.
Yeah, and you have to value yourself. I have to value myself, if I'm going to say that as an affirmation, mate. But
Yeah.
it's a great point you make, Keith. You know, you have a baby. It's like things change and priorities change, and it's amazing how we're able to reprioritize when things like that pop up. I've spoken on the show a little bit about my own personal situation, and I don't get to see my daughter very often these days. But when I do, man, I'm with her. You know, it's like I don't give a shit how much the phone's ringing.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm focusing on what's important, and I think it's easy to do it when it's things that are quite obvious like that. But in our day-to-day work, in our businesses, I think, we just get caught in this trap that everything's important, and so we just keep plugging away at everything and not ever really being judicious enough with our time and our prioritization. Is it something I wanted to ask you about, being a tradie on the tools and transitioning from that into a very different business? It's not like you've just gone from, working on the tools in a trade business to running that same trade business. You've completely jumped industries, essentially.
Yeah.
Were there things from being a carpenter that's helped you in business, mate?
Definitely you can take over aspects from one to the other, and I suppose one being that a business is like anything, and if you can compare a business to a house, you know, you really got to get the foundations right and set yourself up for a success. And you know, if when you're building a house, if the foundations aren't put in square or level, you know, it just causes so many problems on the way up. So just to be able to take that time and getting things right at the base level, which for us is the product, you know, making sure that it works, making sure that when people come on, they have a good experience. Because actually what we've really learned is, you know, because in the tech industry, people understand that, like, the website doesn't work. They'll fix that today or tomorrow. It'll be back working in no time. You don't get that opportunity when you're trying to convert a tradie who's been used to writing paper invoices or paper tenders all his life. You know, if you can manage to get him to use your product and it doesn't work first time around, you've lost that
You're
opportunity.
off.
You've lost that opportunity. He's going to go back to the site and say, I tried this new thing, and, you know, bad news spreads worse than bad news spreads quicker than good news.
That's right.
Yeah, I suppose that's one of the things, just getting it right, and not really pushing it out to the market too much until you know it's right. If you can test it at a small level, it's pretty good. I suppose another really key thing that you take from site is, you know, when you're on site with the lads, you can have a real laugh, and that's generally, there is a lot of that through the day. You get your work done, but you're essentially a bunch of guys having a laugh, and if you can bring that into the office environment as well, like it is really important. One thing I've brought to the team in here in Conx is, on Fridays we used to always, with Ocean Carpentry, we were actually quite different quite different tradies. We were used to try and eat quite healthily, but on Fridays we'd have a day called Fat Friday. So I have brought that into the office, and
Fat Friday.
We'll go out for a burger or something on a Friday, maybe a beer.
That's awesome, mate. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, mate, I believe you secured some funding for Conx recently.
We did. Like I kind of touched on briefly earlier, in about the start of 2017, I took the plunge and kind of gave ourselves 6 months, 8 months of a runway with money in our savings to give it an opportunity. And it was probably maybe 6 weeks over the deadline that we'd given ourselves, but we kind of exhausted a lot of options, and we were getting a lot of feedback from investors that didn't really know too much about the construction industry. You know, they just look at your numbers and they're like, oh, come back to us when you've got this, or come back to us when you've got that, and your big growth. But we were put in touch with, he's actually an Irish guy, but he's been here for 40 years, and he's kind of involved in the construction industry in a roundabout way. But we were really just put in touch with him through a contact, just to get some advice. And I suppose there's an age-old saying that says, you ask for money, you get advice; you ask for advice, you get money. And we were really just asking him for advice to see if he could steer us in the right direction, maybe get us in touch with a few of the bigger construction firms who are kind of looking at startups to get involved in technology, like some of the kind of really big ones like Lend-Lease and Langer Work and those guys. But when we ran him through the business, he was really excited, and he said, look, I'll give you the investment you need to get the product to the level you want, and to hire on a few guys, and to really give this thing a go for the next 12 to 18 to 24 months. So yeah, it was a really exciting opportunity, and we're so thankful for that, because when you're building a technology business is not really like another business in that I have an apple, I buy it for 10 cents, I sell it to you for 15 cents, I make 5 cents. It's not that black and white.
No.
And I think that's really clear from the likes of like Uber or Airbnb. Uber is like such a massive company and they never turned a profit, but they're worth $20 billion. Like, how does that make sense?
And some of those companies, I suspect, are going at it from a capitalization strategy where they're looking to build a business that has a market value because of their networks and their database and everything. That's worth something. You look at Facebook, like the value of Facebook is just in the database, essentially.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So those guys, I suppose just kind of flipping that on its head, the key to a good technology company is growth over revenue. And if you focus on revenue from day one, it becomes a major blocker, because if every one user that comes onto Conx, I'm trying to get as much money out of as possible, it leads to a bad experience and a lack of growth. So getting investment has really kind of allowed us to open up the product and just get people using it for free, and just get them using it, get the growth, get them talking about it. And obviously down the track, there will be aspects of Conx that will be really valuable that people will be willing to pay for. But at the moment, the whole tender software, we just want companies to use it. It's completely free to use to send tenders within your own network of subcontractors. The only time that we charge at all is if you find that you actually need to get quotes from subcontractors out there that you don't know, then you can put your tender up on the open network, and that's just a simple $99 listing fee. So we're keeping all the kind of prices just super low at the moment, just to get the uptake. And just bring it back to your question about the investment. Without investment, there's no way you'd have the opportunity to do that.
So what's the vision for Conx, Keith?
The really big vision, is to be the standard digital profile of every construction worker and company in Australia, and hopefully someday worldwide.
Nice, mate. And if you look at where you are now compared to where you thought you would be or should be or wanted to be, like what's the trajectory looking like, mate?
Well, I don't think anybody is ever where they really want to be. We could always be doing better, but I think bringing it back to that, getting the foundations right, where we've been a little bit slow. I think anybody who's had any experience in website development will know that it's a slow process.
No, it's easy, mate. Just watch the ads for Wix and all that stuff. It's simple.
Yeah. So easy. Especially when you're building like the tailored software and kind of creating something new that's never been done before. And, we've got to like create something and test it and see, is that like we can see how people have gone through it and how they've used it. And we think, oh, maybe it's better to do it this way.
Yeah.
But no, we're definitely we're on path to getting to where we want to be, but we can always be doing better.
Yep.
So we have about 6,000 registered profiles at the moment.
Okay.
Where we obviously started mainly in Sydney, and we kind of focused on the Sydney market, but we have in the last kind of few months really had a bigger uptake in Brisbane and Melbourne as well. We've actually started to see some uptake in Perth without really trying too hard to do it over there. People have kind of been finding us.
Nice.
So I think things are going well from a high level.
Great, mate. Great to hear. Now, I want to talk some specifics about Conx before we wrap up, mate, and I'll let you go back and stare at a screen for the rest of the day.
Oh, thanks.
Mate, give us the well, not the pitch so much, but how does this thing work? Wrap it up for us, and what does someone do to go and actually start taking advantage of what you guys have got?
Yeah, so like I said, we just want to connect individuals and contractors in the construction industry There's three personas. So we have you can register as an individual tradie, subcontractor, or a general contractor. And just to give you a quick run through here, I know most of your listeners are probably subcontractors or general contractors, but that might mean that they'll want to hire individuals. So for an individual, they can create a profile for themselves free of charge. They can add all of their construction information, such as licenses, insurances, white cards, experience, references, photos of past work. And from there, if your guys say we're looking for an individual, they can post a job. And when that individual applies for the job, they'll be able to see all that. So it's worth just giving you a run through that aspect of it for your listeners. For a subcontractor, which is essentially say somebody who specifies in carpentry or electrical or whatever. So again, they can create a profile for themselves completely free of charge. I advise that to be the first step that they take, because there's no obviously there's no charge and there's nothing bad that can ever come of it. From there, they can advertise available positions to hire individuals, or equally they can search for new work in the tender section. And they can also receive invitations to quote on jobs from builders. And like I mentioned briefly earlier, we're looking to offer a takeoff service for them as well. So they'll be able to just simply upload the plans to Conx, or we'll potentially already have the plans. And then we can just provide them with a bill of quantities so they can just stick their own rates on it. Because obviously the rates in Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, if you're in a rural area, they're going to be completely different. So we won't be getting involved in supplying you with any rates, but every subcontractor will know their own rates.
Yeah, that's right.
And then if we kind of move on to the top of the funnel, which is the general contractor, which is a service for builders. So again, they can create a completely free profile, and they can create, send and receive tenders. They can do it within their own existing network of subbies, so they don't ever have to pay for anything or put it out onto the public network. Or if they're looking to get quotes from new subcontractors, they can put it out there onto the network. So we've built this software that's easier to use than email, and it's just managing everything that you need to do pre-construction. Again, we're going to be looking at, in the near future, opening up the network completely, but also getting suppliers involved as well. So we'll be able to give you like the best quotes possible for the materials that you need as a result of getting the bill of quantities or the takeoffs done. So it's just going to save you so much time and hassle.
That's awesome, mate. Well, look, I have had a bit of a sticky beak at it, mate, and it does look very, very cool. I mean, companies like HI Pages and Service Seeking, those guys have been around for ages. But as I said before, they're about connecting consumers with trades. And yeah, it's one of the biggest problems I come across in my work as tradie wingman of helping businesses grow. Is that finding staff. And in a lot of cases, that's permanent hires, but even finding subcontractors is really challenging because you just, as you said earlier, Keith, you just don't know. It's that pot luck.
Yeah. Well, again, that brings us back to the vision. If we can get every single individual and subcontractor on this one central platform, won't it make life a hell of a lot easier for everybody?
Absolutely, mate. So, couple final questions for you, Keith. Do old tradies ever die, mate?
Do old tradies ever die? Can you elaborate on that one? I'm not old. Yes.
Do you think tradies ever stop being tradies, mate? Like, will you ever see yourself as anything other than a tradie who's, gotten into a digital business, or will you just see yourself as a digital entrepreneur, and once upon a time you used to be a chippy?
No, that clears it up, definitely. I think you're dead right in saying all tradies will never die. I think, I loved being a carpenter, and I kind of got into it because, I loved the outdoors and making things, and it was just, Yeah, it was a passion of mine, and I think if once a tradie, always a tradie, because like I'm gonna have houses in the future and build houses, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure all your listeners can relate, but you know, when you're in that restaurant with your wife or your friends, and you're kind of looking around and you're noticing things that are you're noticing things that are done badly, or like,
Yeah.
oh, I done it that way. Why did he do it that way? You know,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It's
So yeah,
like,
that's
geez,
who I got on.
look at that wall over there. It's so out of plumb. Who put that bloody thing up?
Exactly, exactly. Like, geez, if you had taken 10 more minutes and like drilled a hole there, it would have made that so much better.
Yeah, yep. Mate, I do that, and I've never been a qualified tradie. I just hung out with the old man and laboured for him until I was a teenager. So, I can't help myself, mate. But
Yeah, same. My wife's always giving out to me. She's like, who cares about the second way the Jeep rock and so on?
well, I do it. I'm renting at the moment, and mate, this house drives me nuts because they did a really crappy reno on it, and I'm forever complaining about the way the doors stick because they didn't put the jambs in properly, or
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. Or there's a bit of dry rot in some of the timbers because they didn't design the entrance very well, and yeah, my partner loves it. But
Yeah.
mate, the other question I got for you, Keith, is ask most of my guests this: if you had 1,000 tradies in a room, what would be one piece of advice you'd love to leave them with, mate?
I suppose just giving it from my own perspective is just embrace technology. It really it's there to help us all. If it can make your life easier, you've got to jump on board with it. Like the most dangerous phrase in business is we've always done it that way. You can't, it's not good enough. You've got to like embrace what's new, be open to just change and ways of doing business. Otherwise, you'll just be left behind. If other people are doing it and getting the competitive advantage, they're just going to be ahead of you. So yeah, my advice would be that constantly look into what's out there to help your business grow. And while Connex might not be perfect for your business, there is other apps out there at the moment. Construction technology in Australia is absolutely booming, and it's seen as one of the main hubs in the whole world for construction technology because the industry is booming so much here. So yeah, make sure and get involved and embrace technology.
Get on it. Good advice, mate. Now, if listeners want to find out more about what we've been banging on about, Conx Jobs, what's the best way for them to do that?
If the best way to do it is just to jump on the website. We actually have a live chat just it'll pop up in the bottom right hand corner. It's my face pops up on it. If it's not me, it'll be one of the other guys sitting beside me. www.conxjobs.com, CONXJOBS.com. So just jump on there, ask me a question, drop your phone number or email in there, and we'll make contact, and we'll do our best to help you and run you through how to use it. It's built by tradies for tradies, what we always say. So we're hoping that you find it super easy to use. But if you do have any problems, we're here to help.
Maybe one of your taglines, Keith, could be easier to use than Tinder.
Easier to use than Tinder. I like it.
You're going to race out and set up a Tinder profile after this, aren't you?
I am.
Just to see how it works, mate. An attractive Irish lad, you'd probably go pretty well on Tinder, mate. Mate, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a great chat and a great insight too into, I guess, you've had a fairly, I wouldn't say colourful past, but, moving from Ireland to Australia and doing a stint on an island, not Ireland, but and then jumping into a tech business, mate. It's been fascinating to hear about your story, mate, and I think it's a wonderful service that you guys have set up and bringing to the construction industry. So well done on that, mate, and hopefully big things to come or continue to come for all of you. So thanks again for your time, buddy.
Thanks so much for having us, and I when you think about your own story, you always think it's not really that interesting.
Yeah, we, as I said to you in our emails prior to this episode, mate, not a big fan of the sound of my own voice. So I think it's like our own story. It's like, it's not that interesting.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah. But
thanks so much for having me. It was awesome to be on here, and I hope it helped some of your listeners.
I'm sure it will, mate. Thank you. So there you go, Keith from Conx Jobs. Go check them out. You'll find them on Instagram, Facebook, and on the interwebs at www.conxjobs.com.au. Great chat with Keith. Looking forward to some big things from those guys, and looking forward to some big things from you too. Have a great week. I'll talk to you soon. Hooroo.
You've been listening to the Tradies Business Show with Warwick Bidwell. Want to get off the tools and into true business ownership? Find out how at tradiesbusinessshow.com.